We will go ahead and get started. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to be here today. And I love this topic. I had about 80% of my life where I hated this topic because I lived with terrible anxiety. I would don't have a doctorate degree in anxiety, but I think I have a doctorate degree in anxiety without the piece of paper. Um, I get clients all the time that talk about that they feel like they're the only one that has anxiety and panic attacks. And I said, well, you came to the right place because I don't have an exact number, but my therapist used to have me keep track of my panic attacks. And I've had somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 panic attacks in my life, and sometimes 40 a day for over 40 years. So I understand anxiety. I also understand how to deal with anxiety and even get to the point where we can eliminate it. So let's jump in and get started. I got a PowerPoint we're going to go over today. Hopefully everybody can see that. We tested it earlier, so I'm pretty sure you can. And I wanted to, just for those of you that don't know me and it's your first time here, just a quick introduction. I'm Greg Threadgold, and you're all part of my group on Facebook, Eliminate Your Stress and Find Success. I am a stress eliminating coach. That's what I focus on, is people that are dealing with some mental challenges of stress, anxiety, depression, and their unfulfilled life because of those things, and help them overcome those things so they can start to live their dreams. I am a speaker, and I'm a virtual speaker right now because there's no place to go speak. So I'm doing everything online, which is a change. Also a best-selling author. I have a book called The Depression Miracle, which some of the stuff that we talk about today comes from my book, The Depression Miracle, which I wrote back in 2015, and was humbled that it became a #1 bestseller in 8 different countries. So that's who I am. So the first thing we got to understand is, what is anxiety? And also, are stress and anxiety the same thing? Some people put stress, anxiety, and worry all interchangeable. Okay? But stress and anxiety are not the same thing. One comes from the other. And stress is an internal or an external thing happening in our life. It's external. It's a big test in school or college coming up and we get stressed about it. It's a job interview. It's a project at work that we have to do. It's a big change in our life. It's moving somewhere else. It's a big change. And usually when that thing is done, the stress is gone. When we finally get that big test taken, the stress is gone. When we finally get done with that job interview, the stress is gone. But if we don't know how to deal with the stress and we continue to focus on it and stress about it, even though it's done and gone, did I do good on the test? Am I going to pass? All this stuff. Then anxiety comes in. Anxiety is stress out of control. Okay? It's stress out of control. So when we continue to stress about something, anxiety is internal. That's the eternal feelings we have of dealing with something that's external. That's done and gone with. It's putting stress into overdrive. I call it stress times 1,000 is anxiety. So one of the keys to learning how to get rid of anxiety is learning how to control your stress. Because if you can fix that and learn how to deal with stress and not let it get out of control, then you've dealt with your anxiety. And when anxiety gets out of control, it can absolutely control your life. It can paralyze you. It can literally shut you down. And get you to a point where you just can't function. I understand that. I went through that for 43 years of panic attacks. And it just doesn't stop. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but it just doesn't stop with anxiety. If your anxiety gets out of control, then you have panic attacks. You have anxiety attacks. If you've never had one, then people describe it like you're having a heart attack. And people pretty much every day go to the emergency rooms because they think they're having a heart attack. Because it's internal. It's just emotions. But your brain is just feeding on them and out of control. So we don't want to go past that. And then we can go into paranoia that comes, and then we can go into where I was, borderline schizophrenia, and a lot of things. And I don't want to focus on that because we can do stuff to never get to that point. But I spend a lot of time at that point. So they're not the same thing. And one comes from the other. Again, stress is an outward thing happening in our life. Anxiety is how we respond to that stress, especially when the thing is done. So the question I want everybody to ask themselves is, and this is one of the most important questions I've ever been asked, and I asked this in my book to everybody that reads it, and I asked this to everybody I coach, and it was asked to me by my coach: how long do you want to stay exactly the way you are right now? And it's a tough question to face up, look in the mirror, and answer. How long do I want to stay exactly the way I am right now? When I got asked that question, I'd spent 43 years with severe mental illness. I'd been in 4 mental hospitals. I tried to commit suicide a couple times. And I got asked that question. And luckily, because I never gave up fighting to beat my mental illness, which I beat 9 years ago, my answer to the person that asked me that was, not 1 minute longer than I have to. I want to change. But some people, when they get asked that question, is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 5 years? Do you want to stay exactly the way you are? Is it 10 years? Or sadly, is it the rest of your life? Dealing with your anxiety, dealing with fear, dealing with stress. Because there are things that can reduce it and, in some cases, eliminate it. I used to have, again, 40 panic attacks a day. I've had several 100,000. In the last 9 years, I've had 4. And they were very short. And I don't discount them, but I actually laughed because I'd forgot what it was like to have a panic attack. And so I quickly got rid of it. And so I've had 4 in 9 years, okay, where I used to have a couple hundred a week. So it can happen. So how long do you want to stay exactly the way you are right now? I can't answer that for you. You got to answer that. So the top three things, and I think I'm going to correct a mistake here. I'll blame it on Ogden City Schools. Sorry if you're a teacher in Ogden City Schools, but I went to Ogden City Schools. Or if your kids go to Ogden City. Oh, I got Drew here. His kid goes to Ogden High. There you go. Sorry. I went to Ogden High. I changed this at the last minute and added a fourth one. So it says 3 steps. There's actually 4. You get a bonus one today. So, but I didn't change the 3 steps. And these are things that I do and I have done and I have taught hundreds, probably thousands with my book to do. And again, the key is to not let your stress turn into anxiety. That's the key. Stress can be a good thing. Stress motivates us to get ready for the job interview. It motivates us to study for the test. It can be a good thing as long as we let go of it when it's done. And most of the time we do. Okay? So here's the first one. Anxiety is just like a bully that we might have had to put up with in school. Okay? It's a bully. That's what it is. And the only way to deal with a bully is to stand up to him. And when we stand up to a bully, usually we find out they're not quite as tough as they think they are. Because nobody's ever stood up to them, so they don't know what to do. And they're just as scared as you are or more scared because somebody stood up to them. We have to stand up to anxiety. Anxiety is a bully. And when I dealt with a lot of anxiety, I would stand up to it. And I learned to treat it like a bully because it's just an emotion. That's all it is. And you have all the symptoms and you think you're going crazy and losing your mind and having a heart attack. It's just emotion. That's all it is. It's not real. It's just an emotion that's out of control. And so I would learn to stand up to my panic and my anxiety as it was coming. And I literally would talk to, it's going to sound silly, but I would talk to my anxiety and say, you know what? You're just an emotion. You can't hurt me. Come do what you got to do and then go away. Come make me think I'm losing my mind, but you're just an emotion. And I would stand up to it because it's my brain I'm talking to. I would make a conscious decision to take on the bully because my subconscious mind was totally out of control. It was just racing on it. And what we do, how anxiety works, if we're trying to get rid of it by worrying about it more, what we're trying to do is get rid of a fire and we're throwing more gasoline on it with more worry and trying to act like it's not there, trying to run from the bully. We have to stand up to anxiety by literally saying the word stop. You got to stop yourself. You've got to wake up. You've got to snap out of it, they call it. I've got to do something to snap myself out of this train that's going down the track 100 miles an hour. And I would literally say, stop. This is just an emotion. It's not real. 99.99 things that we have anxiety and stress about never happen. And I would say, stop. And then I literally would say, come do what you got to do. You're just a bully and you're nothing. You're just emotion. And I would take back control of the situation. come have me a panic attack because I'm not going to succumb to it. You have no power over me. I've made a decision that I'm going to make you go away. And if we stand up to the bully, that's what happens. And just out loud saying the word stop. Snap out of it. Get up. Go for a walk, have that talk with yourself. Go in a different room. Do something instead of just sitting there throwing gas upon this fire. Because it's so easy to just wrap ourselves up in a blanket in our bed for 2 days and just drive ourselves crazy. But it's just emotion. That's all it is. It's not real. I studied enough about it to know I wasn't having a heart attack, so I never went to the hospital, but people do it every day. Because it literally hurts physically. So that's number one. It's a bully. Stand up to the bully. And it's amazing once you stand up to it and say, you can't hurt me, just do whatever you got to do, it goes away. The bully goes away when you stand up to it. Tell yourself to stop. Tell yourself to snap out of it. You got to do something to snap out of it. Get up and go do something. The second one is the hardest and one of the most important. You have to learn to trust yourself. And once you do that, it equals living your life, getting your life back. You've got to trust that it's okay to tell yourself that I have a problem with worry. It's okay to acknowledge that you deal with anxiety. Again, acknowledging the bully. I have a problem with worry. I overthink things. I worry too much. I have panic. I have anxiety. That's okay. It's not terrible. Everybody has anxiety sometime in their life. Some of us just have it more often. But as I said, it used to control my life. In the last 9 years, it doesn't, because I learned about stress, I learned about anxiety, and I learned that I was in control. And that I needed to trust myself, because the anxiety comes from when we make decisions, which are an external thing, and then we doubt the decision that we made. And we start to second guess ourselves because we don't trust ourselves. And then the anxiety comes because we've already made the decision. We can't change the decision. And now here comes the anxiety because we're thinking about something that's already been done. If we've taken the test, we can't go back and change the test. It's done. We can't control the test anymore, so stop worrying about it. Stop having panic about it. But we need to learn to trust ourselves. Because if we can't trust ourselves, then we can't trust other people, and then we don't trust life. Most people don't trust themselves, they don't trust other people, and they don't trust life. But you can't trust other people if you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, other people are going to see that you don't trust yourself. You need to acknowledge that, yeah, I deal with anxiety. Don't need to shout it out from the rooftops. Don't need to tell people. But it's okay to deal with anxiety. It's okay to deal with depression or whatever it is. It's such a taboo subject that it shouldn't be. I went totally the other way. I speak to people all over the world about, I dealt with mental illness. I was mentally ill. I wrote a book about it. I have a group on Facebook and I talk about it all the time. And guess what? I still have the same friends, and life still goes on, and everything didn't just a big hole and I got swallowed in because I talked about it. I have it. Again, standing up to the bully. Yeah, I deal with anxiety every once in a while. So what? Hey, I'm going to work on not having it get from stress to anxiety. So we need to trust ourselves. These phrases need to be taken out of your life today. What happens when we don't trust ourselves and we take stress to the point of anxiety is what we've already done. If we've made a decision, if we've taken a test, if we've done something and it's done and gone, we need to stop saying should have. I should have done this. I should have done it different. I should have made this decision. I should have talked to this person. I should have read this. I should have. You should have is looking back on something you can't control. And the should haves take over our lives. And then we live in the past. Our mind lives in the past of all the should haves we should have done that are gone. We can't change them. But we live in should haves. The other part of that is looking into the future. And these two words, what if? I made the decision, but what if this happens? Oh, what if that happens? Oh, what if this? What if that? What if, what if, what if, what if? I talk about this in my video that I did. I had a client who was 18 years old. And she looked at me and she said, what am I supposed to do when I'm 23? I have a couple kids and my husband's left me and I'm living out on the street. I said, are you married and have 3 kids and living on the street? No, but that's what's going to happen to me. I know it. She had what ifed herself to a divorce and living in the gutter on the street. And it was so real to her that she couldn't function. She didn't want to date anybody. She never even met the guy. She was so living in the future of what ifs that she couldn't function because that became her world. And when we live in the future that hasn't even happened yet, then that brings terrible anxiety because we're worrying about stuff that hasn't even happened. And again, 99% of it's not going to happen. So we need to stay in the present. Stay away from the should haves of the past, stay away from the what ifs of the future, and live in the present. Today is a gift. That's why they call it a present. Okay, it's the only day you can control in your whole life. You can plan for the future. Sure, you set goals, but you don't stress over it. You don't make it real. Because what ifs will destroy you. And our mind just throws in the should haves as a bonus, as a free gift. You get those too. And I found so many people and so many clients of mine, they live in the past, regretting stuff they've done that they can't change. And we need to stop it. We can't change it. We can't fix it. We can't redo it. We can take steps to make it better, but we can't go back and change it. It's gone. And the future, I don't know. You know, I tell somebody that's stuck in the future, I said, there's a lot of people that didn't wake up this morning in the world. You don't even know if tomorrow's coming. Hey, stop worrying about things you can't control, and you can't control the future and make it perfect. took me a long time to learn this one. Slow down if you want to go fast. You got to read that a couple times because it doesn't make sense. To go faster in your life, to get where you want to go in a smart, constructive, goal-oriented way, you need to slow down. People are in such a hurry to get where they want to go that they become out of control. And their to-do list is way too long, and they're exhausted, and they look at the day as a failure instead of a success because they didn't get the 60 things on their list done. We need to slow down. We need to simplify our lives. We need to look at situations that we put ourselves in that bring anxiety and stress. Maybe even people. I don't know. I talk about it in my book that I had 2 people in my life that I had to, for years, get out of my life because they pushed me so far into anxiety when I was around them. I was not in a good place when we were around each other. So I had to push them away for 4 or 5 years. That's not the case anymore. Okay? Now we can all be together and it doesn't affect me. So we need to slow down. We need to simplify. Sometimes we want something so bad, and I've had this with my business, that I hold on to it so tight, and I work from 6 in the morning till midnight every day, 6 days a week, and half a day on Sunday, and I'm holding on so tight that I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose my business because I'm holding on so tight, trying to go fast, that it actually slows me down because I bring on all that anxiety and I get stressed. I can't. So I've slowed down, worked less hours, take breaks, take a walk, take care of myself, reward myself, and my business has grown. When I hold on too tight to something we really want in our lives, it consumes us and it brings on anxiety because we want it right now. We can't have it right now. Okay? So we need to stand up to the bully. We need to learn to trust ourselves when we make a decision. Get all the information. I tell a lot of people, I've found that intelligent people get both sides of the story before they make a decision. And some people say, well, you're calling me stupid. No, I'm telling you what I found intelligent people do. They get both sides of the story, they get both sides of the information, and then they make a decision. And you got to trust yourself when you make that decision. And you got to be okay when sometimes it's the wrong decision. And that's okay. If we want to be happy in life, we need to fail. If we want to be successful in life, we need to fail a lot. Failure is the key to success. If you're not failing in your life, then the goals that you have are way too easy. And they're not going to take you anywhere. Okay. So Les Brown's one of my favorite motivational speakers. And he said, too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears. I'm supposed to say our fears. That's my second mistake. Okay. I made a typo. Living our fears. Okay. But again, I could what if and should have, and everybody's going to log out and hang up and hate me now because they spelled the word wrong. And actually, what I tell people if I'm ever drawing on a board in a training or anything, I said, to save time, I have found multiple ways to spell the same word, just to save time. So it's just a time-saving thing, so don't point out that I spelled it wrong, because it's one thing I do. I just misspell words to save time. But too many of us are not living our dreams because we're living our fears. Okay. Where does anxiety come from and stress come from and worry come from? Fear. Fear is the bottom of this whole thing. Fear is the thing that's holding us back. Anxiety comes from fear. Stress comes from fear. That we don't trust ourselves. We don't think we're good enough. We don't think our life's good enough. That's where it comes from, is fear. So one of the things we got to fix these things is fear. So what I do, and some of you here are new, most of you are new, some have already been through this process, but one of the things I do with people is help them find out where they're at with their fears. Because fear is the baseline. Fear is, scientists say that 90%, 85 to 90% of the decisions we make every day are based on fear. Because we have learned so much fear in our lives that we just automatically, our subconscious mind picks fear every time. Our subconscious mind is there to keep us safe. And so it's going to tell us every time we want to do something different or something hard or change, it's going to tell us, no, don't do it. And so that's where we don't grow and we don't do things. And we have to learn how to fix all those thoughts that aren't based on truth. They're based on stuff about fear we've learned our whole life. So what I do is there's an assessment on my website that I invite everybody to take. You certainly don't have to. It doesn't cost anything. It's a 10-minute assessment. It takes 10 minutes. It tells you right in the instructions, do not take more than 10 minutes. It won't work if you take 45 and try to rationalize and get it perfect. It's trying to pick up your initial response to a question in your subconscious mind. But what it does is it tells us exactly where you're at with fear in your life. So if you want to take it, you can go to gregthreadgold.com. You'll see that video of me in a video at the top, and right under that it'll say take the clarity assessment. It'll take you there, you put in your information, and you take 10 minutes and you take it. And the reason I do this for people is this is what it looks like, and you'll just take it. It says right on there, the assessment only takes 10 minutes. That's it. You'll get a copy of it, I'll get a copy of it. And what we will do is, if you take the assessment, you and I will have a private one-on-one 60-minute coaching call. And I've done hundreds of these coaching calls, and I can tell you right now, because I had one, I took the assessment 9 years ago. It's what made me get the information to get rid of my stress and anxiety. It was a life-changing experience for me, this call that I had with my coach. It can transform you, because we're going to put together a roadmap, a plan based on where you're at, not based on 10,000 people and where they're average. This tells us where you're at with fear, and we're going to address those issues and give you some steps to deal with your fear. So on the 60-minute call, and I do it for 60 minutes for people that come to the training and take time out of their life. It's usually about a 30 to 40-minute call, but I made it 60. We're going to discuss how to deal with the fears and anxiety. And then by fixing these and getting a game plan, you're going to start to accomplish some of your goals and dreams. And it's a life coaching transformational call. It really is. It's a great call to sit down and discuss it. So again, if you want to do that, great. If you don't, that's great too. Hopefully you've learned some stuff from the information we've had today. But I tell everybody I'm going to keep this 45 minutes to an hour, and we're just about there now. If you want to reach out to me, the best way is at greg@gregthreadgold.com, my email. And I can respond to you if you have questions. As with fear and anxiety and stress, the best time to take the assessment is right after we're done. Because if it gets put on the list, you're probably not going to do it. And like I said, it helped change my life. Do I have stress in my life? Yeah. Do I have some anxiety in my life? Yeah, but not for very long. Sure, I have stress in my life. Everybody does. But I've learned not to have it turn into something that overpowers me, something that paralyzes me. And since I got rid of my stress and anxiety, has my life been perfect and I don't have mental health problems anymore? No. Okay, still have challenges, still have this and that. Lost a child in the whole thing, lost my youngest son 6 years ago. But I knew how to deal with the hardest thing that's ever happened. And I don't wish losing a child on my worst enemy in the entire world. It is a living hell that you can't even imagine. So, but because I had these tools of how to not let it control me, I was able to deal with it. Where before in my life, any other time, I never would have been able to deal with it. So it helps us get through even the hardest things that we don't see coming. So again, I go back to, there's only 3 guarantees in life, or 2 guarantees in life, they say. Death and taxes. Okay, we can't get without them. Okay, they're going to be around until we die. But there's a third one. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart because I lived it for 82% of my life. I can guarantee that if you don't deal with the stress and anxiety in your life, I can guarantee you that the stress and anxiety in your life will deal with you. If we don't stand up to the bully's going to win. So be proactive, deal with the stress and anxiety. Take the assessment, let's get on the phone. It's a free call. I tell people don't bring your wallet because there's nothing for sale on the call. There's nothing for sale on this call. I just like to share this information. And have a great call with a life coach. If you want to, you don't have to. Thanks again for everybody coming, and have a great Wednesday. See you later.